Those extra runs.
And now, ready to make his way to the cage, Linton, the Swarm Vassell.
The Swarm, Linton Vassell, cutting the type of weight he was cutting, walking at 225, 230. Was just so mentally, physically tasking, but mentally tasking, but more so than anything, John, it affects the way you train on a daily basis.
Well, it did, because he was having to go to try to keep his weight down. He was out, jogging 2, 3, 4 miles a day after practice just to try to keep that weight down so he could cut to that 205. Look, he's a big, big, strong man, and to get down to that light of a weight was killing him, and I'm glad to see him at heavyweight.
The Swarm fighting at heavyweight in the Bellator cage for the very first time.
Ready now to make his way to the cage, Valentin Moldavsky.
7-1 record overall, 2-0 as a Bellator fighter. Both of those fights right here. His debut, John, a fight in which you rep.
Moldavsky is a very fast heavyweight. That's what he survives on. He's not the biggest, strongest guy, but speed is what he lives off of, and that's what you're going to see tonight.
We are 60 seconds away from our co-main event of the evening. This is Bellator MMA.
27 to 36 in age. Big height difference for Linton Vassell. He's closer to 6'5" and a huge reach advantage. Linton on the outside can keep Moldavsky down, but he wants to actually get his hands on him to take him to the ground.
Michael C. Williams with the official introductions.
Bellator MMA now features tonight's co-main event 3 5-minute rounds in the heavyweight division. Live on Paramount Network, we introduce the blue corner at 6'4", weighing in 246.7 pounds. The former light heavyweight title challenger tonight returns to the heavyweight division, bringing 18 professional victories, 7 defeats. Fighting out of Milton Keynes, London, England, presenting Linton, the Swarm Vassell. And across the cage, his adversary fighting out of the red corner at 6'1", weighing in 232.7 pounds, near perfect as a professional. He brings 7 victories, just 1 defeat, fighting out of Stodiosco, Russia, introducing Valentin Moldavsky. And the referee in charge of the action, Jaron Vassell.
Jaron Vassell,
like you, all the way back.
Our referee.
Fighter, fighter, fight!
Blue gloves for the Swarm, Moldavsky in the red gloves, and that is one big heavyweight.
Imagining that he used to fight at light heavyweight. You look at him and you go, God dang, he's a big man. And he is just put together. How did he get to 205? I don't know.
Switches his stance just for a moment to southpaw. We were talking about, all the years of cutting down to 205 and joking about, wow, will Ryan Bader really go back there? And Linton said, he might have to with those 2 belts. He goes, I'm not, though. That's a definite.
Yeah, Ryan Bader may have to go back. That's a decision he'll make, but Linton knows I'm going to stay with where I'm at now. Heavyweight is my class, and I'm going to be here for a while.
Been thinking about it for the last few years.
This is very interesting right here because Linton is very strong in his ability. Once he gets those hands clasped, gets him down. He is so strong. He can pick anybody up, even from odd positions, and get them to the ground.
Technically 2-2. in his previous 4 fights as a heavyweight, but those were many, many years ago, and his commitment, he will tell you, quite frankly, was a little bit different back then.
This is where Linton has turned into a very strong fighter. On the ground, you watch what he does, and that's what we were demonstrating before. Looking at the figure 4 on the leg, keeping himself in half guard. He does a lot of good things, and he is very heavy and very strong. So he creates problems. Once he puts you on the ground, you got to work so hard to get away from him. Here he is trying to slice through. Nice move by Moldavsky, get himself back to his feet.
Moldavsky, 7 wins, 4 finishes. All 4 finishes have come in the first round. This is a hard-working type round 1 with all the grappling and all the clinch work.
This is exactly where Linton wants this fight, though. He wants it, even if he's got his back against the cage. All of this grappling is what he needs because it takes the speed away from Moldavsky. It negates what is one of his biggest assets. And so this is good right now for Linton when he's going. Now that you get that separation, even though Moldavsky's the smaller guy, watch the footwork setting up the hands.
Well, the hybrid, if you will, Big John, the hybrid 230-pound heavyweight has been one of the big stories in mixed martial arts overall in the past decade. And Cain Velasquez is probably, you know, the front runner. He was probably the pioneer. He and Junior Dos Santos, obviously, and we've seen the move towards these smaller, quicker heavyweights. Ryan Bader, a perfect example in our heavyweight Grand Prix, who have had great success.
Yeah, well, you've had these just ebbs and flows of guys being huge and then guys getting down. You know, Randy Couture came in and was fighting at heavyweight at about 225 pounds, and he was the heavyweight champion. Even Kevin Randleman, go back to him, 218, 220 pounds. Nice takedown by Vassell into side control. He should not have picked his leg up there. He should have slid. You want to cut through, don't pick up and bring it over. That's a mistake, and that's why he got back into half guard.
You should have watched the Big John breakdown.
There you go.
See how he was successful with it before.
We got into this thing of behemoth heavyweights, you know, and the Brock Lesnar's and the, you know, Cole Conrads and all these giant guys. And it was the Cain Velasquez coming back. All of them are now bringing this weight to where, you know, Fedor always fought somewhere in the 230, 35 pound range. And we're seeing that, look at, what's the hardest thing to deal with? Is it size and strength, or is it speed? And when you're a heavyweight, it's the speed is what is hard to deal with. So a lot of guys they're not getting to that huge factor because they have to carry that weight, and in carrying that weight through the fight, it can tire them out and they can lose the fight because they can't keep going at that same pace.
And there is no way that we can have this conversation and not mention Daniel Cormier. Did it in Strikeforce for so many years, doing it at the UFC, and it's about that size.
Absolutely. Look at DC, man. He's just incredible. But proves you don't have to be this behemoth.
Good first round for Linton Vassell.
On the ground here, look at this elbow. That is what gives Moldavsky a cut right on the corner of his eye. This is where I said, you know, if you're Linton Vassell, this is the area you want to be in this fight. This is how you win this fight. Getting him to the ground and damaging him with strikes. That was exactly what Linton wants in that first round. That's why he gets it 10-9.
Fight.
Round 2. Linton Vassell. The blue gloves. Red gloves for Valentin Moldavsky. Linton Vassell still training in South Florida. He's hit, put down by Moldavsky. Black belt in judo.
Nice movement by Linton, trying to get back to his feet. Moldavsky's doing a good job of keeping his body centered on him. That was a mistake. That is exactly what can lead you down the path of failure. When you make these big moves, you got to be smart in what you're doing. Moldavsky got a little bit too into it, overcommitted, and that's why you see Linton on top right now.
Moldavsky has a law degree, had no interest in MMA when he was younger, Wasn't active until age 18. First met Fedor Emelianenko in 2015 when he was participating in a Russian MMA championship match. He said Fedor was in attendance. He invited me to train. It was a great honor. Here I am today, driven by the desire to be the best. 27-year-old Valentin Moldavsky, part of Team Fedor. The Tokov brothers victorious here tonight. Team Fedor looking for a 3-0 night here inside the WinStar World Casino and Resort.
Nice pass by Linton. You see him using shoulder pressure there. Moldavsky's got that down. That is a nice job of getting himself out, because that's not an easy move to get a big man off you with, and he does it well.
Keep an eye on the cardio of Linton Vassell. He did not have to cut, which is a reason to watch the cardio, of course, for many years, John, but he's also carrying more muscle, a lot more muscle than he has in previous fights.
Yeah, Moldavsky right there to try. He was going for a guillotine. Linton was able to pop his head out. As soon as the guy gets sweaty, especially when they're bald, you just don't get that same grip. There's a difference. You know, a lot of guys will talk about guys having beards and it's like a chin protection. It's like, I want a guy to have a beard because it helps when you grab that chin. You can hold on. You're not holding on to the hair. You're not pulling it, but it makes it to where it's now sticky instead of being able to slide right out.
So you're telling Clay Guida to cut his hair? Or Daniel Strauss?
I've told Clay Guida for years to cut his hair. He always tells me buzz off.
You also said that when Moldavsky swarms his opponent, he's a strong finisher.
He is.
He swarms his opponent. See what I did there?
I got it.
Yeah.
He did that same reversal. Linton has got to figure out exactly what he's doing, because that is the third time that Moldavsky has used that reverse to get himself out of a bad position with Linton on top.
Being a really big dude with a lot of muscle who has trained at this size for the last 8 to 10 weeks, or a guy who's just had a horrendous weight cut, I've got to imagine the weight cut is obviously worse.
Oh, look at, if there's one thing I know right now, nice elevator by Linton, unable to keep Moldavsky's got heavy hips, keeping him down, so he turns. But when you're in that type of weight cut, where you're training so much to keep your weight down and then having to cut down, it takes so much out of you. I know right now, Linton is going, thank God I didn't have to cut weight facing this guy.
So the pace of this fight, the cardio, should not be a concern for the Swarm, who told us he's put in the work big time. Right into the gym after the fight with Phil Davis.
He just put himself in a bad position for an arm triangle, Mike.
Not good.
He made a move with his arm up high. Moldavsky's got that head in the right place. He needs to just keep on bringing that pressure down, bring his hips down just a little bit. That's why you see Linton pushing against his arm with his right hand. Good job of getting out.
Is he safe yet? Not sure.
Not safe, but he's free of that one. That was set up very well by Moldavsky. Linton's starting to slow down with all this movement, and this is what speed does. You have to keep up with that pace, and that can make you push to a point that it's pushing you off the cliff, and that's what we're starting to see right now.
And that's what Moldavsky has told us a couple of times, that his speed and his footwork separates him from the other heavyweights. And it's a good round for Moldavsky here, round number 2. Swarming the Swarm here in the second 5 minutes.
Swarming the Swarm. Just coming back with that one again.
All the time.
Right now. Let's go.
Here's how Linton goes for a roll, brings his arm up high, and that's how Moldavsky slips right into an arm triangle. You see Linton pushing against his arm. This is where, when you're big and strong, sometimes you got to use that to get yourself out. You're burning a lot of energy, but he gets himself out of it and goes into the third round.
Third and final round. John McCarthy, your scorecard.
My scorecard is, first round definitely went to Linton Vassell. Second round goes to Moldavsky. Whoever wins this round gets this fight.
Moldavsky is 2-0 inside the Bellator cage. 7 Bellator wins at 205 for Linton Vassell, cranking on the neck, lost it. Top position for Team Fedor's Valentin Moldavsky. Born in the Ukraine, fighting out of Staviasco.
Nice takedown by Moldavsky because he stayed with it. And one of the things that Linton did, if you watch Linton's toes, kind of went back, and that stopped him, and that's what allowed Moldavsky to continue through it. That if his feet had been flat with his tops of his feet on the canvas sliding back, he just would have kept on sliding all the way back. Moldavsky would have ended up on top.
Vassell said he took just 2 days off after the title fight on the campus of Penn State, in which he was finished in round 2 by the light heavyweight and heavyweight champion Ryan Bader, and got caught with the head kick against Phil Davis in a fight that was pretty darn close up to that point.
It was a good fight. I mean, it's one of those things that I think it was the wrestling of Phil Davis and just the threat of it is what caused Linton problems in that fight. And eventually, because he was worried about that threat, when Phil makes a move, his hands came down, the kick came up, he never saw it, and that's what ended the fight.
And Linton did say, he admitted that he did feel tired going into that 3rd round with that cut of 25 to 30 pounds. So he knew win, lose, or draw, that this was his next destination, but he's in quite a fight against Moldavsky here, John, with just over 3 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, he's starting to get in positions where he's got that knee shield inside, but his leg is flat. When it flattens out, it means that you're not in a position to be able to move your hips out. He doesn't want Moldavsky to take his back, but he's sitting there in a position you can't just stay here. You've got to move. There you go. And this is what happens when you do get tired. You're telling yourself, I'm going to move, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's just give me another second. And the time goes by and you're not moving. And again, when you're not moving in MMA, you're probably losing.
Past the midway point of this 3rd and final round. Constant pressure from Moldavsky. And we talked so much about the cardio and not cutting. When it comes to the swarm, Linton Vassell, forget about either of those, 247, 207. It's the pace that Moldavsky has fought at that's wearing down his opponent.
Exactly. It's when you are that faster athlete and you can create a pace that pushes your opponent at a heart rate that is beyond what is their comfort zone, beyond what they normally train at, beyond what they get those 5-round Shark Tank, sparring matches in. You do that, you push them to a point where eventually they start to just break down because their heart rate has been at a level that is too high for them to maintain, and they cannot maintain what they're doing to keep up with you. Give it a little bit of squeeze, but I think because of the first one and what he did, Moldavsky doesn't want to give up position to try to go back to it for the finish because he couldn't get it that first time because Vassell is just so big and strong.
As I mentioned, Moldavsky has 4 career finishes. All of those came in the first round.
Moldavsky almost has what we call a gift wrap with the arm. He's starting to open up on him here.
Big shots. We'd like to get one here. 40 seconds on the clock.
And this is more exhaustion than damage. And no matter what, we talk about damage. Pushing your opponent to a point where they can no longer continue on the fight, that's damage.
Two-time title challenger at 205. Linton Vassell in big trouble here in his heavyweight debut. A huge round 3 for Team Fedor's Valentin Moldavsky. They go the distance. Our official decision, live here on Paramount Network, is coming up next. All right, here is how my partner, Big John McCarthy, saw the fight. 10-9 round 1 for the Swarm. Then it was all Valentin Moldavsky did the judges agree? Here's Michael C. Williams.
Ladies and gentlemen, inside the Bellator cage, we go the distance. So we go to your three judges. All three judges scored the same. Michael Bell, Ron McCarthy, Todd Anderson. See it. 29-27 for the winner by unanimous decision, Valentin Moldavsky.
Unanimous decision victory for Valentin Moldavsky. And Johnny just wore down big Linton Vassell.
That's exactly, this is what, if you're a smaller man, you got to fight a certain fight. And that speed in wearing your opponent down, making it to where they can't keep up with that pace, that's what he did, and he did it well.
Congratulations, Team Fedor, 3-0 tonight. Mike Goldberg, Big John McCarthy, welcome back. Time now for our main event of the evening for Emmanuel Sanchez. It's about doing all the things, I think, John, that he said he did not do in his title fight against Patricio Pitbull.
Yeah, what has made Emmanuel Sanchez so successful is this pace and this volume that he brings into the fight. And that's what he needs to do. He was doing it at certain moments.